Samaya Sado Hameza Samaya Monobalaya Samaya Sado.
Thank you all very much for coming today. Thank you, Lama Gursam, for coming very much. Katie, thank you very much for joining us. And we have a number of people here, and here's Brendan and Elizabeth just walked in. Very good, thank you. We are informal, so I presume that the folks that are on Zoom, thank you for joining us and can hear us. And if at any time anybody has any questions, please just raise your hand and just speak right up. Elizabeth, if you prefer sitting on the sofa, you're most welcome. Is that comfortable?
Yes.
Okay. And Pete, would you give
Oh, yeah.
Brendan, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Hope you didn't have too much traffic.
Oh,
There wasn't a problem.
Sorry to be late.
It's okay. Just getting started. So if you need a little bit more room or something,
I'm great.
are you comfortable? You want a chair? Do you prefer a chair?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe, David, could you just move up about 6 inches? Might be better. Have a little bit
Sorry.
more room to spread his legs out.
Okay, thank you.
So the people that are on Zoom, if you have any questions or comments, you can raise your hand, or better yet, maybe you can just turn on your microphone, and just say that you have a question or something during Lama's talk. Meantime, we're going to begin with our opening prayers with our Bodhicitta Foundation prayer book. So if you all are familiar with the prayers, please recite along with us. If you're unfamiliar, please just maintain the meditation position and relax and take in the words and try and follow the instructions for bodhicitta. So we begin with the altruistic motivation. So we recite out loud twice in English, and Lama, if you would do once in the Tibetan for us. All mothers sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All other sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood.
Dala dang war je be da ne war je be ge taraba da dam je be par do jo par je tam je so je be ma nam go da nya sim je dam je de wa da de do ne da tre nyor do la na me ba yang da zo be chan ju ren ba je to pra cha.
Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds in body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds in body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds in body, speech, and mind.
Te che do sang ma je ke par do le ma ye so ge wa la ko ma she par do le ma ye so Gevala ko te tere ne son Nyema santa tsam je parat Lunga ye sung gevala ko.
We take refuge in the kind root and lineage lamas.
We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the atoms. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root and lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas, the Yedams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Tenjin Zawa Danji Paraje Peba De Lam Tamba Nam La Jasu Che Yedam Jen Kuraje La So Nam Kya Su Che Sanje Chum Den De Nam La Cha Su Che Wo Tambe Che Nam La Kya Su Che Wo Pa Pe Gen De Nam La Cha Su Che Wo Pa Wo Kan Ro Che Jong So Me So Ye She Ge Jen Den Ba Nam La Cha Su Che.
Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas who raised the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas who raised the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stage of the path.
Chan Chus Nying Bura Che Ge Para San Ge Nam La Kya Su Chi Che Dan Chan Chu Sen Ba Ye So La Ya Di Shi Cha Su Chi Che Tarang Hun Je De She Ki Chan Chu To Ne Ke Pa Tang Chan Chu Sen Be La Ba La De Da Rim She Ne Pa Tra De Shen Do La Pen Don Tu Chan Chu Sem Ne Che Ge Shen De Shen Tu Ne La Ba La Ren Ba Shen Du La Pra Che.
And the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent.
I take refuge until enlightenment is reached by the merit of the generosity and the good deeds May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge in the enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and the good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sanje chudan soge chona la chan chu paradu dane kya su che da ge jin so ge be so na che do la pen sang gen do para sho.
May all mothers, sentient beings, boundless as the sky,
Our happiness and the causes of happiness. May they liberate from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
may all mothers,
Sentient beings, unless the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they liberate from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Manam kadanyam besim jentam che devatan deve judan dembara che Dumedan dume ki judan tewara che Dume me be devata mindala che Nyere chada nyeda tabe tanyola nebra choche.
now if we can go to page 24, 24 and 25, the 100 syllable purification mantra of Vajrasattva. Cite one time in English and 3 times in the Sanskrit, please. Om Vajrasattva Samaya, help to protect my vow to purify myself. May you remain firm with me. Grant me complete satisfaction. Grow with me. Be loving towards me. Grant me the attainments to master the powers beyond body and nature. Show me all the deeds of body, speech, and mind. Make my mind heart good, virtuous, and auspicious. Revel in the bliss of 4 joys, O Blessed One, who embodies the essence within me. Do not abandon me. Grant me the realizations of the indestructible nature. Make me one with you. Thus I signify my unity with non-duality. Ah.
Om Benza Sado Samaya Manu Balaya Benza Sado Dino Ba Dijan Dido Me Bawa Sodo Kayo Me Bawa Sobo Kayo Me Bawa Anirato Me Bawa Sawa Side Me Praya Savagrama Sudame Tsedan Shriyan Guru Aho Bhagavan Savadadagata Badra Mame Indra Bhava Mahasama Sadhu Badra Sadhu Samaya Manu Balaya Mandra Sadva Dinoba Titra Dido Mebawa Sodo Kaya Mebawa Sobo Kaya Mebawa Anerato Mebawa Sava Siddhi Me Paraya Sava Krama Siddha Shriya Guru Ho Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sava Tata Gata Vedra Manye Yadra Bhava Ma Samaya Sato Yadra Sato Samaya Anubalaya Yadra Sato Tinopa Deja Judo Me Bhava Sato Kaya Me Bhava Sopa Kaya Me Bhava Anirato me bhava, sarva siddhi me prayat, sava krama sudha me, seta shriya guru ho, ha ha ho bhagavan, sava tata gata vendra mami me, vendra bhava ma sama. Sado.
Just like before we get started, can you all hear us on Zoom? The audio is coming through okay, please? Can somebody turn their microphone on and confirm that? No.
Yes, the audio is working, but a little bit light, but it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll turn the microphone up a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I hope that's better.
Okay. So. Lama Jeno Lama Trinjen Zabe Lama Jeno Baden Lama Gujo Wanzo Dabo Gaje Yonje Zoje Doe Devan Lambe Lando Toje Ngata Jave Jas Karen Dara Demba Dame Dorje Chawan Gumbo Driwon Ba Garjen Dorje Changjen Bo Jen Cheno So Wande So Tuje Soshi Sinje La Shen Ngoto Nanye Dada Soje Tenye Lundang De Wo Soje Namo Nasi Namda Ke Lama La Nasi Shi Shen So Che Ban Bora Kamsong Yung Dru De So Wan De Ngo Tung Tu So Sinje Lo Ji Shen Na Wo So Ge Je Ma Song Ju Me Ja Ge To Won Chen Pe Ye Shen Nga Ta Sewe Danye Ka Den Chen Do Wa Jim Ze Shen Bo Je Na Sim Ni Chen Ang De So Wan De Chun Ni Chen Ang De Sinje Lo Simdo ne jime namdan de londe chugo dobra sinje lo nangwa da nebe simje tamje lo chuzon dobra sinje labdos chulamdo dobra sinje labdos o lantruba sabra sinje labdos o antruna yishi zon chawa sinje labdos wasa saja jimbo choge ngudu dobra sinje labdos o tanjun de ne shindu nipa ka chiwa tintup dobra chubala Kaden de la Pemba Maduna Sende Yandan Java Kalan Jo Kajija Madan Java La Chunji Dinja Samja Janzu Burda Chujenja sonje ramola galo de shendo ga mendo som yore mede joran hije taban yodo do nyama nebe tupso yendo mata paro rongich. Lelo nyam le bon la zindu tawa me jen paro sende mata denge dindan dan dowe chenje kala da dan son dowe sena nam ke lo dati. Samba cheve cha nyun chon do tu che nar de cha bon do cho no nong chon sa da ni shi chi men da chi wo ten de ka da khan do yi. Le ne te ma shin do chi son da ri du kur we du nga de sam na ni long ta go dang pa pa mo tu ke sha lan de sam da ni che da bo la. Shin bin che chu do ma che na tum na me ur che min chu we. Sangwaro de la nenden zo, le la ge jabo la, yinjurmi je ten sa ma zen. Ma kan chen kwan ba min de we, le yedam je la la nenden zo, lama kushe kan re la, mi kwe je ni ma ma shan. Silab je chu je men jo we, se mi gun de la nenden zo, se ni je nam ga yang ba la, nam do ke tin zo ma den. Chenye che sakara medawe samedo de la nenden zo lonyi shenje no wala malam je sedru mazen. Wadu chen dewa menjawe je ngwa de la nenden zo jewa kundo yanda lama dang dami chu je pala long je che. Sada lam je yende rab zo ne dor je change kongpa nyor do sho chanjo simne rinpoche. 마제바는 제지르제 제바냠바 메바야 공내 공돈 배워쇼. Okay, so
Yes, David, and then table.
Atashidele everyone,
Tasu de la
Yeah.
Kushes.
and as well as online Zoom. So and welcome everyone. So first, I would like to say thank you for everyone here in live or in online, as well as I would like to thank you for Lance and Paula. It always has been support, organizing, opening the space. I really appreciate always as well. So now today, I myself here too, as well as see all the Sangha friends, which is very precious moment. Long time ago, we see each other very much. Then somehow, time to time, changes individual's life, and as well as happen this pandemic. So then we can see much after that, quite a bit in the real life. So again, we see each other, which is very precious to me, an opportunity to see and be with together and doing some sharing some thoughts. Even though I have nothing much to share, nothing to share as well as nothing to be sharing some new things at all, as a great Master Shantideva mentioned, in his teaching. Uh, uh, so especially for me personally, for very simple person, simple practitioner myself. And of course, I have nothing at all to say something new there, which is never has been in the taught. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all the masters. Uh, I myself always think as a practitioner, you know. Or I never thought about think about myself as a teacher at all. The name is some teacher there, but personally, I always never thought about that myself. And not just the thought, I've been myself as always a student. Few time I come here to sharing with you, and the rest of the day time I many years back and this time I go back to study and practice. That's all I do, nothing else. I've been that my whole uh, energy put into there, study with many wonderful masters, all different traditions. So I'm really grateful as well. So So today is I myself here to sharing some few thoughts, just to remind ourselves, which is very, very important for us. So reminding is the one of the best, uh, whatever we call the teachings or the practices, you know. The reason is when most of the time, we really forget all these things we learned in the past. So it's the masters, root master or lineage masters, all friends in the sanghas. It is one of the reminding us how precious we are, how precious to gather, to practice, and so forth. So those things like that, you know. So of course, I think we all been together a long time. Since I know almost 1996, somewhere there. 1996, somewhere in March, I came first time in the United States. So it's been kind of long time. When I looking back my journey into the Dharma, so thinking about what did I learn actually, the whole this almost more than 30 years back. For myself, is a Dharma journey is almost more than 40 years. you know, I'm in over 60 now, so crossing 60s, 4 decades I've been in the Dharma, including my study and the practices. Uh, when I look at the back, of course, wonderful opportunity for Dharma practice and study, different masters, and opportunity for sharing dharmas. It's a wonderful too, where so many things are. So at the same time, we all know there is our reality life is challenge time. That's we all have. There's nothing to be surprising, nothing to be new, which is all as long as uh, living beings. So that's all we have. There's no doubt. None of them has been kind of, how to say, everything's perfect, the beginning, the end. No. Even though historically Buddha himself has lot of challenge. After enlightenment, there is a lot of Buddha does not have challenge, but the people, students has a lot of challenge about the Buddha. Buddha himself was enlightened, but the student has a lot of different thoughts about the Buddha. Somebody says you're not enlightened. Somebody says such and such, So whatever. So I'm thinking about the recollecting how the life is reality, true nature of the life. I think so. So, but the fortunate is still continue practicing Dharma, which is really matters. Continue studying, continue practice. That is the one of the best in my personal life. Whatever the challenges, difficulty has to go through, uh, different things, but to continue, which is really, I think, is the most important. That is, of course, real. We all know that, and remind ourselves. So that is the important for me to continue study, practice, or sharing, or with the sangha, whatever it is, opportunities. So then, of course, as the reality of the life, the beginning of Buddha mentioned, the first noble truth of the sufferings, which includes about the reality of life, of the birth, aging, sickness, death. My life is already experiencing continual birth, aging, sickness. Now is more experience about the sickness part. Aging is already there, there's no doubt. It's a reality. Sickness part is not so bad, but the still experience, which is the, as Buddha taught, in the reality nature, we can't do much about it, nature of this. But that does not mean we cannot be healthy, to protect being healthy as possible, physically, mentally, verbally, whatever we believe in. That is possible, But the truth is, everyone experiences it. For ourselves, for our own loved ones, parents, grandparents, and families. I think it's a reality in nature. The reality in nature is nobody can change it. It is. So therefore, sometimes I learn nothing we cannot change. So as Shantideva mentioned, if there is something we cannot change, why we worry about it? There's no reason to be worried about it. We have to continue dealing with those positive as possible, whatever the challenges. The reality challenge, like, the agings, including myself, the sickness, not easy. Used to, I say a lot, actually in many of them is already recorded long time. In the 19, I started teaching in the 1990s, 96, So I think so my talks are there, possible, some of. When I look back, it's a challenge for me. What did I say that, Did I really understood that? Now I realize that was just my wonderful learning from the school, the university. And I said those words, and I can still, sometimes I can hear myself. It makes me laugh myself to think about, what did I say? What did I really mean it? It's wonderful, still learning about it, whatever the words, So now if I try to say it, I really mean it. And experience in myself and experience in my, especially last 5 years, I was taking care of my wonderful mother in her challenges. And I was the one of taking care of everything, how much has to, a lot of things to do, take care, so many things. So many things she has to go through this, the reality nature, the life. So what I'm trying to say is the reality nature of the life, whether it's our own, this, as I said, birth, aging, sickness, death. Likewise, the same reality of nature of the environments. I think it's the same things. I can say that reality of nature of environment, I don't much remember where I was born in India, North India. At least I can say it's not the same weather anymore. When I was born in early, more than 60 years back, when I went to this couple months, 6 months there, and I look around it, experience how the weather changes, how many pollutions are there, whatever it is. So that is the reality, true nature, So the reality nature is, it is. So that is we have to, which is I can speaking today here, the learning about the true reality nature, which we always learn. Likewise, the same thing, reality of nature of our body, and the true reality nature of our mind, which is again the most profound subject about learning about the mind, but it is very interesting to learning about the mind, which is the most precious. So therefore, what I'm sharing here today is actually I've been sharing with some places I already been last few weeks back already. So I like to share those for my own experience, whatever you call experience or realizations. So that I really like to share. It's which can be more better for us to be talk rather than I can open the book and sharing, read a book and down and something which is wonderful, nothing wrong. Which is I've been, as I mentioned, many years, as well, especially for last 5 years, they're working with my mom and with my family, putting all the energies there. No, I have only part-time study and meditation practices. But the rest of them putting time there. What I learn is the most important part is the learning about how grateful I am, how joyful, thankful, the appreciation, which is I learn in my real life. And I also every day practice as possible. Whether I am in a sitting meditation on the cushion, whether I am up the cushions, or whether I'm walking, whether I am talking with some friends, family, whether I am meditating myself. So that was I really found interesting. It hits me, my deep insight. The gratitude, grateful how I myself. So of course we all learn is we all have to be really, really grateful self. That is the most important, I call meditation. Sometimes I call that meditation is grateful or thankful. The joyful meditation is, this meditation is for me, I would like to say, much more powerful than Mahamudra or Dzogchen Shenpo, whatever called the Rigpa, which we call the highest, or emptiness, which we call, So those are the highest, or we call the highest yoga empowerment, Vajra Yogini or Chakra Samvara or Kilayas, whatever called the Dzogchen Shenpo is a Kilaya practice and Yamantaka practice. I did not mean anything. What simply I mean is it's the sometimes we didn't realizing this practice of the appreciation, the grateful. One way is how simple it is. Very simple. How easy it is, one way. Sometimes we forgot those things, including myself. One way when we practice my including myself, how difficult it is to grateful for self, the grateful, thankful for other living beings, including our loved ones, friends, families, everything. Just name it. So that is I really remind ourselves, which is I found very one way sometime beginning I found very difficult actually. Really I found one way very difficult to be. I myself thought about it. How come I'm talking myself how come you do not appreciate everything what you have it? You know? So then I told myself, you know, talking myself in my insight or my own mind, whatever, on my own heart. Say, Lama Gursam, no, you have to appreciate what you have, whatever you has been to, grateful, thankful for self, for other living beings, everyone. So what it makes me difference is what the point is here. When I keep appreciate, grateful, thankful, everything as possible, it makes me so relaxed. Simple thing is, it relaxes me, just relax, one way. The another way, when I practice more, appreciate, grateful, it brings me so joy and happy, which is we call happiness for self-happiness. Truly, really, my heart, my body is just so kind of warming up deep inside. The another things which I realized, understood is through practice of joy or practice of grateful or whatever we call the word, it brings so loving for self, loving kindness, which we call it. The loving myself so deep. Then after some time, practicing, continue that, it brings so compassion within oneself. So then I'm enough for practice that again, the compassion. Then there is kind of bodhicitta, enlightenment, awakened. Deep relaxing state of bodhicitta, Pretty sure it is the same when I practice others. Whoever has been in my life, anybody in the past and the present, grateful, it makes me so joy, love towards them. Even though sometimes challenge one in my life, it also makes me kind of very calm, It doesn't make me any kind of difficulty. I can easily give forgiveness, give love, give compassion, send prayers, wishing them be happy wherever they are. Maybe some of them already passed away. So the interesting thing, another thing in the reality life, when we practice our grateful, thankful, joy for self and others, it makes self and others so close each other. Come closest and close, you know. Even they are so far, but mentally it's very close by heart. Those who are close with us, it's much more easy. Be patience, compassion. So that is, I really uh, like to, as I mentioned, only few words about, like to share with you. Of course, you all realize it, pretty sure, you know. That is, I found one of the greatest meditation. Sometimes we call the precious life, different ways they say, you know. So therefore, the meditation about the joy or grateful or thankful, I think it's one of the, which is I try to do every day as possible. Most of the time I'm okay now, mindful enough, and sometimes forgets already. uh, Let me share with you some practice part, how I do it. Then maybe everybody knew it yourself, and you remind ourselves. As a many great master mentioned already, including Nagarjuna's teachings, you know, it's nothing new. You know, soon as we get up early morning, wake up from the sleeping, we all have to be grateful how we are. Soon as we breathe, that means we are alive. So first thing we have to be really be appreciate, grateful is about our precious life. The life is what? One way is very complicated life, is not easy. One way is very simple life. Simple is what it is. Just breathe in, breathe out. That is our life. As soon as we stop breathing, as we know, then our life is gone, no longer working. Nothing is working. Nothing is work if not breathing in and out. How much powerful person, him or herself, how much, you know, whatever this planet have, doesn't work. Only working soon as they get up from the sleeping, breathing out, breathing in. That means life. That is Nagarjuna mentioned is how precious it is. So which is I try to practice soon as early morning, you know, first things. In order to practice that one, you don't have to be, as we know, wonderful. Somebody has the opportunity, how to say, the routine, sit down and think, breathe in and out, which I have my routine, you know, which I do, okay, which is wonderful to do. And if somebody do not have routine, doesn't have to be stand up or get up, standing meditations, you know, the positions of meditation doesn't have to be. With the sleeping, wonderful bed or sleep, and keep breathing in and out, open eyes, thinking about how precious I am today alive. I really thought that is a wonderful one of the practice in my life. Then after that, slowly we move into our everyday life, whatever we do, right? Soon as we walk, we have to be grateful. That is another story I have. When I say as soon as we walk, how we have to be grateful, thankful. Many times we forgot that. We just walk, right? We don't realize how precious it is. What happened is a story for myself rather than others. There's other stories too, my lifetime, my connection, my mom's. Myself, last week ago, before coming from India, somehow my left leg is not really working very well, actually. Somehow, not bad. Somehow when I wake up, there's this pain. I cannot really move it, very well. I have to hold the leg and then put it into my ground. Then I can walk from there. Then I thought, what is happening? Never ever have this. So somehow I did early that time a couple yoga practice with a wonderful yoga master. I made it too much stretch and so forth. That is, you all know, very have to be wonderful practice. Yoga is nothing wrong, but has to be careful with it. There's a lot of challenge there too, so maybe that's the only I can think. But that's not the yoga. That's not mindful. So then it's keep, hurting me really much. And I thought about my mind is so something going on. If my leg is not working, what can I do now? And I'm already starting my traveling, this teaching tour 2 months. And after this, I have a schedule for 6 months in the retreat in Nepal, some teachers teaching. I thought, oh, that's going to be really, really obstacle. So then I've somehow, the short story is wonderful meeting some Sangha and arrange this, with the doctors, the chiropractor, the chiropractor fix my left. This is something, not big deal. There's something like one is too like that, one is too high, one is long, one is shorter there. So he fixed it very, very well, but didn't too much, But likewise, like that, But since then, I realized, my get up early morning, I still have some, not too bad, but so something like that, So the same story happened to my mom. 3 years back, he has to do with the knee surgery. Of course, if she could not walk, then I'm the one who taking care of. I got the big stress, everything. Know what to do. How she take in the hospital, how take in the restroom, whatever it was so on, eating herself and food, so many things, The surgery went very short story is the surgery went very well. She worked hard. All this exercise she did according to the therapist teachings, whatever she done very well, hardworking, So it was so released. So I was very, very grateful. So see how things our life is, the important of the grateful and how connected each other is our things, everything. So what I'm trying to say is today, the practice of early morning first things, then later on, or whatever opportunity for practice, opportunity for work, or whatever it is, eating food, or so on. I think that is the uh, and again here today's opportunity. I'm talking, some sharing thoughts. Uh, so that is I really like to first thing like to share uh, with you. So if you don't mind, we can sit few minutes, meditate about the how grateful ourselves to think about everything precious when we have, including our precious body, including our mind and heart, including this opportunity for sitting together, so on. Today, especially today, the present times, we can thank everything, whatever past. It's wonderful, especially for the moment. So please, we can just sit together, 10 minutes together. It's okay with you, everyone? Okay. Jawa Gundu Yanda Lama Dandami Jija Balalam Jija Satalam Jaya Dirajan Dorje Change Kwambanya Dosho Chanjo Sinjo Ramboje Maje Banam Jija Jiba Nyamba Mebai Kone Kondo Bewa. Okay, thank you again, everyone. I take short break, right? So.
Take a short break and come back in a few minutes. Thank you. Going to stop the recording, pause the recording.
Benza Sado Samaya Manubalaya Benza Sado Dinova Dijadido Mebava Sudakayo Mebava Sobakayo Mebava Anerato Mebava Sawa Side Mebaya Sawa Karma Sutta Sudha Shire Yankro Aho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Pedra Mame Meta Pedra Bava Samaya Sato Pedra Sato Samaya Polaya Pedra Sato Dinapa Didandida Mebava Sudha Kaya Mebava Soba Kaya Mebava Anerato Mebava So Agrama Sudha Me Sada Shire Yankro Benza Mame Meza Bedra Bava Ma Samaya Sato Bedra Sato Samaya Mana Bala Bedra Sato Dinava Dijandida Mebava Sudha Kaya Mebava Soba Kaya Mebava Anerato Mebava Sawa Sede Mebava Sawa Karma Sudame Zada Shirayan Guru Ha 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 Bhaga Benza Mame Meza Medra Bhava Ma Samaya Sado Bendra Sado Samaya Manabala Benza Sado Dinava Dijandina Mebava Sada Kaya Mebava Soba Kaya Mebava Anerado Mebava Sava Side Mebava Sava Karma Sudame Zada Shire Guru O Bhagavan Sava Dada Gata Bedra Mame Meza Bedra Bhava Ma Sama Sado Om Bedra Sado Samaya Manobalaya Bedra Sado Dinava Dishanjito Mebava Sudha Kaya Mebava Soba Kaya Mebava Anerado Mebava Sawa Side Mebayata Sawa Karma Sutta Tada Shriya Guru Ha Bhagavan Sawa Tata Benza Mame Meza Benza Bhava Ma Samaya Sato Om Benza Sato Samaya Manobalaya Benza Sato Dinava Dijandita Mebava Sadakaya Mebava Sobakaya Mebava Mebava Sava Sede Mebaya Sava Karma Sutta Me Sada Shirayan Guru Ho Bhagavan Sava Tathagata Bedra Mame Bedra Bhava Ma Samaya Sado Om Bedra Sado Samaya Manapala Pendra Sada Dinava Dishanjito Mebava Sada Kaya Mebava Sava Kaya Mebava Anerato Mebava Sava Sede Mebayata Sava Karma Sutta Sada Shirayan Guru Ho Bhagavan Sava Tatanga Pedra Bhava Ma Samaya Sado Om Pedra Sado Samaya Manobalaya Pedra Sado Dinava Tishan Jida Meba, Soda Kaya Meba, Soba Kaya Meba, Anurado Meba, Srava Siddha Meba, Avakara Masuza Me, Zada Shriya Guru Hum. O Bhagavan Sarvadada Gata Veda Mame Meda Vedra Ma Samaya Sadho Om Vedra Sadho Samaya Mana Bala Vedra Sadho Dinava Dishanjita Meba Sada Kaya Meba Soba Kaya Meba Anerado mebava srava siddhi mebayata sava krama sudha sada shriya guru ha 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 ho bhagava sava tata Mendra mame mendra bhava ma samaya sadho om mendra sada samaya Polaya Mendra Sado Dinava Dijandida Mebava Sada Kaya Mebava Soba Kaya Mebava Anerado Mebava Sava Sede Mebrayada Sava Karma Sutta Sata Shriya Guru Ho Ha 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 Ho Bhaga Savatthangata Bedra Mame Meza Bedra Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Om Bedra Sato Samaya Madhapalaya Bedra Sato Dinova Dijandida Meba Sudakaya Meba Subakaya Meba Mebava Sarva Siddhi Mebraya Sava Krama Sutta Me Sada Shriya Kuru Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sava Tathagata Vedra Mame Vedra Bhava Ma Samaya Sadho Om Vedra Samaya Manupalaya Bedra Sado Dinoba Mebava Soda Kaya Mebava Soba Kaya Mebava Anerado Mebava Sava Siddha Mebaya Sava Kara Soda Me Zada Shriya Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagav Savatthangata Bedra Mame Meza Bedra Samaya Sadho Om Bedra Sadho Samaya Manupalaya Bedra Sadho Dinova Kishajida Mebava Sudakaya Mebava Subakaya Mebava Vasava Siddha Mebrayata Sava Krama Sutta Me Sada Shriya Guru Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sava Tathang Pedra Mame Meza Pedra Bhava Ma Samaya Sato Om Bedra Sado Samaya Manupalaya Bedra Sado Tinopa Kishandida Mebava Soda Kaya Mebava Soba Kaya Mebava Anerado Mebava Sava Siddhi Mebrayata Sava Susame Sada Shriya Guru Ho Ha 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 Ho Bhagav Tathagata Bedra Mame Meza Bedra Mahasamaya Sadho Om Bedra Sadho Samaya Manupalaya Bedra Sadho Dinova Dishanjita Mebava Sudakaya Mebava Subakaya Mebava Anerado Mebava Srava Siddhi Mebraya Sava Krama Sutta Me Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Savadada Gada Vedra Mame Vedra Bhava Ma Samaya Sato Om Vedra Sada Samaya Manabalaya Vedra Sada Dinova Disha Jeda Meba Sudakaya Meba Subakaya Meba Anerado Meba Savaside Meba Suzame Zadan Shriyan Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Savadada Gada Meda Mame Meda Meda Ma Samaya Sato Om Bedra Sato Samaya Manabalaya Bedra Sato Dinaba Dita Dita Mebawa Sudakaya Mebawa Subakaya Mebawa Anerado Mebawa Sravaside Mebarayada Karma Sutsane Sudan Shriyan Guru Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Savadata Gata Vedra Mane Vedra Bhava Ma Samaya Sadho Om Vedra Sadho Samaya Manabalaya Mendra Sada Dinaba Tisha Jida Mebawa Sudakaya Mebawa Subakaya Mebawa Anerado Mebawa Mebarayata Sava Grama Sudha Medzada Shriya Guru Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Savadadanga Veda Mame Meda Meda Ma Samaya Sado Om Vedra Sada Samaya Manabalaya Vedra Sada Dinova Tisha Dida Mebawa Sadakaya Mebawa Sabakaya Mebawa Anerado Mebawa Sravaside Mebrayat Savakrama Sudame Sadan Shriya Guru Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Savadadanga Benza Mame Meza Benza Ba Ma Samaya Sato Om Bendra Sato Samaya Manabalaya Benza Sato Dinab Tisha Jida Meba Kaya Mebawa Saba Kaya Meba Anerado Mebawa Sava Side Mebaya Sava Krama Sudam Sadan Shriya Guru Ha 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 Ho Bhaga Savadadang Mame Meza Mendra Bhav Mahasamaya Sado Nampa Nyambe Sinje Damje Lochi Sondo Ora Sinje Labda So Chulam Dondo Ora Sinje Labda So Lam Truba Se Ora Sinje Labda So Tuna Ishi Sanja Ora Sinje Labda So Wasa Saja Chimbo Choge Mudu To Ora Sinje Labda So Jawa Gundo Yanda Lama Tan Rami Chuje Bola Long Chuje Sada Lamje Yende Rabdo Ne Dorje Change Gombo Nyor Do Sho Sanjo Simne Ramboje, Maje Bonum Jejureje, Cheba Nyamba Mebaya, Gone Gondo Bewa. Okay, so now welcome back again, everyone. So we discuss about the joy, oh, the appreciation, the grateful, the thankful for self, for other, everyone. So, which is I mentioned the very seems easy, but it's not that easy when the really practical comes. Practice time, not so easy. And this kind of practice of joy or practice of appreciation, grateful, thankful, it has to be not just a word, as we know. The practice point of view is all thing has to be realizing from the heart, not from the mind, not from the thoughts, not from the thinking. It has to be from the heart to realize. In order to realize it has to be practiced again and again, not just one time. It's a wonderful one time, 2 times, wonderful, but has to be practiced again and again, every form, every level, not just one. If we practice just one, then it's become a kind of, kind of discrimination for practices. No, we cannot discrimination for practice. We have to practice appreciation for every level, everything, whatever it is, including self, others, bodies, the mind, the heart, environments, whatever it is, everything. It is object of the actually practice of grateful or thankful, whatever. First thing has to be practiced as a positive one, so important, positive emotions. Then later on, the real practice understanding, then everything doesn't matter. There's no such things exist in a positive or negative. Can appreciate grateful thing. Everything is possible to be have great opportunity for practice, in order to realization. Realization is not necessary to be always the positive object. Realization can be lots of the challenge object can be the condition for the realization in a realization. So therefore, as we discussed earlier, of course, as I mentioned, to remind ourselves, that's the most important, and practice again and again, which is really important. So through completely understanding from the heart. The reason is the practice of joy, appreciation, grateful, and so forth. The reason is that there's many reasons according to the practice point of view, according to the philosophy and so on. We talk about a lot of bodhicitta, how important. Yes, it is very important. Bodhicitta, the enlightened mind or awakened mind, it has its own cause and conditions. There's no such thing as bodhicitta just instantly something rises somewhere or nowhere. No, it's not like as we know. So therefore, including like a love, compassion, or joy, equanimity, and so forth, those all the realization is, I think so, one of the most important, my limited knowledge and the experience, the practice of grateful for self and other. I think so. Then there is no doubt. The compassion, the love, the kindness, it naturally it will come. Even we do not wishes, we do not expecting for the love, compassion, but naturally it rises. That is my humble understanding or knowledge about it, so that I thought maybe share with you. So that is sometimes in the Vajrayana point of view, the Vajrayana practice point of view, they're called the practice of preliminary, So the preliminary is different definition, preliminary actually. Simply preliminary means every practices has to go first. Something has done before actual practices, anything. Those practices has to be very well done. There's no other way to be the first climbing in the stair, first step, and jumping into the 20 step up there. There's no way actually. There's nothing is there actually. So therefore, I thought that's what I was sharing with. I thought maybe remind ourselves, sharing with you. And then, as I mentioned earlier, not just only Dharma, not just only spiritual, or religious. Everything we do, it has to be really connected or relevant to connect in the reality life, everyday life. That's very important. Sometimes Dharma is somewhere in a monastery or somewhere in a jungle, remote area, or somewhere there. And that Dharma is a wonderful help, but that doesn't so much helpful for us in the reality and ordinary people like us. Dharma has to have a really in the reality life, not it remain into the monastery or somewhere monks, nuns, and the rest of them is nothing there. But then that Dharma doesn't last long. No. They will disappear. Dharma will within in the 21st century or the next generation, after a few generations, won't last at all. That happens in reality. We all know the historic part of the Dharma, not just the Dharma, and everything's there. So therefore, I really see its important part is the how we use, how meaningful in our everyday life, in our everyday life, in our family life, friends and the family and the society. So these things can be the practice of the grateful appreciation. The use the word is different, spiritual word there. But the real essence has to be, should not miss that part, sometimes when we Dharma, miss the essence part, then the Dharma is quite a bit challenge. It won't be last long from my perspective, my understanding in Dharma. Been last many years, almost 4 decades to study and practice Dharma. I always think about that. Yeah. So in order to preserve, in order to live Dharma life, it has to be in our ordinary reality life together. It has to be can separate. Then Dharma will alive forever. And whether it is different forms there, doesn't matter. Different forms can be possible. But the essence is, I really think it's important. If not essence, we'll miss the essence part of the Dharma. So then Dharma will be quite a bit become a kind of challenges. So therefore, this the every practices, can be useful in our everyday life, day after day. So that is my first sharing with you about the practice of joyful, practice of appreciation and grateful. It's a very, very important for my very limited understanding about it. So, and of course, there's many things to share. Of course, Dharma is, as all we know, all the practice are very profound, very profound. It's a very wonderful things to learn. Everything is very meaningful. It's very full. But the most important part is the how to say the individual levels. That is very important. Sometimes we talk a very higher level there somewhere, and then it didn't come back into the ground yet. It doesn't, how to say, connect with us sometimes. So then it's a quite a bit of challenge, Dharma, because some kind of in a space talking about somewhere there, also, which is quite a bit challenge for my own experience in the last many years in practicing Dharma, studying Dharma or whatever it is. So always try to bring it into the reality life. It's important. So that is my first thoughts about this practice as well as everyday practice. These practices can be done for every practitioner. Doesn't have to be Buddha Dharma. Doesn't have to be follower of the Buddha Dharma. Doesn't have to be Buddhist. So things like that is so important. Something special. They are Buddhist people. They practice certain things. That's a very different. But should be practice can be available. Can be everybody can do it. Buddhist person, the follower of the Buddha can do it. Even non-follower of the Buddhas, anybody can be do those practices. That could be very, very meaningful. That's I myself as a value for that. And then of course all you heard about His Holiness 14th Dalai Lama mentioned about the kind of the, how to say, non-sectarian, doesn't have to be Buddhist. So there are certain things are very important, should be that way, really for every level, for every levels, or not just only for some every levels, from the starting from the younger generation from the very young 3-4 years old to until the all the way to the 100 years old ages, so can be practice can be done. So that is it's very, I think, valuable. So that's I see these practices, the practice of appreciation, the grateful, whatever we call different words we use there. And the Buddhism they use immeasurable of the joy. That's what they use the word, or jisuyero, immeasurable of joy. So then other things, there's many other practice there, but I would, like as I mentioned, I like to share, which is for my humble understanding or net understanding of the Buddha Dharma. There's a which is there's many other practices. Certain things are really, for me, understanding and have to, no matter everybody have to understanding certain things are very necessarily. Without understanding those things, there's no very practice of the spiritual. Or one thing I like to share today, and then day after tomorrow we have about the Apchi practice. So then we have to learn about Apchi practice, empowerment, and so forth. So today is just another thing is about the which we call the mind training, right? And earlier I talked this practice of joy, or the appreciation, that is also practice of mindful practice of mind training. It's no separable, there's a lot of practices, the practice of mind training there. And one of the mind training, or the whatever we call the lojong, or the mind training, whatever the name that we use, or it's a very, I found it interesting, and also it is necessary for personally limitation of my knowledge about necessity for as a human being, as a living being. Without knowing those things, and quite a bit very challenge in our reality life, to dealing with the reality life, dealing with in the materialism life, or non-material in the spiritual life. If you don't know about the mind training, a little bit about that, and then it's quite a bit, for me, it's found a very challenge. So that's why I really appreciate, I learn and I study about that, and then try to practice about as possible, which of course remind you, everyone, of course you realize, of course you know that, just kind of repeatedly remind it, so we can see how important, which is for training of mind, which we call, right? Especially training of the mind, there's a different ways to training of the mind. Particularly training of the mind is about the training about our the emotions, emotion, which is positive emotions, the negative emotions, the neutral emotions, that generally described that way according to Buddhism, So this kind of learning about the emotion part, how it works, how it does, which is the reality nature of our living beings, actually, especially with the human beings, the reality nature, without the emotion, we cannot survive. That's very clear. Very, or whether we have to have, we call the positive or negative, whatever we call it, there's different emotions always going on. That's the reality nature of the mind. So therefore, in the one thing I try to do, always practice myself, which is one quotation, the teaching from Lord Jiti Sunggu. Lord Jiti Sunggu's Vajra song about the mind, which is said, Lord Jiti Sunggu says, Simniji namga yangba la namdo ke tinzo ma de na chenye je zakara meta ve semmato de la nende zo. Which is for me is very important. My practice, this the Lord Jesus Sunggu's very, how to say, pit instruction about how the mind works. He says the mind is what? That's a big question. What is the mind, or what is the mindfulness? And we talk about these days so highly, very much. Especially nowadays, more talks about the mindfulness, meditation, whatever they call, what that means. I have few times in the meditator or mindfulness I met, I asked them, what is actually? It's like it become talking about mindfulness. It's like a mantra, reciting mindfulness. Actually, what is actually? It's a big question for every meditator. Of course, many of you what experience, what that really means, what is actually. Yeah, I had an opportunity to discuss with the certain practitioner as well, especially they are interested about the mindfulness meditation, highly talking about it. So Lord Jesus was said here, the mind, Simniji namka yang balas. The mind is like, for example, for space, our true nature of the mind is like a space. Namga Yangba, so the space is boundless. There's no boundary in the space. Space is completely open. So likewise, our true nature mind is supposed to be like open, like a space. So therefore, mind is ordinarily like a space, that everything is happening within inner space, whatever is happening. Because of the space, everything is possible. So then next word, Lord Jesus Sunggu says, Namto ke tinzo madingnas. Next word, Lord Jesus Sunggu using is namtok. Namtok means conception. Lord Jesus Sunggu said, there's a lot of conception. The conceptual word is mostly used in the word according to Tibetan Buddhism tradition, particularly Mahamudra tradition. They use a lot of words when they're teaching about the mind training or mind Mahamudra. They use always namtoks. The namtok means first, the namtok means all all the thoughts, every thoughts. It's including every thoughts, positive thoughts, the negative thoughts, including every thought, which is Tibetan word is called the namto, conceptual thoughts. So therefore, according to the namto is, there can be like the positive thought namto, like earlier we talked, love, compassion, joy, equanimity, bodhicitta, the kindness, just name it, all the positive thoughts, positive thoughts are namto, consumption. Or negative thoughts, like we call, like what you call the ignorance is namto. The attachments is namto, consumption. Aversion is namto. Pride and egos is namto. Jealousies is namto. So just name it, everything is namto, consumption, whether it is positive, whether it is negative. The conceptual point of view, all thoughts are equal. And all thoughts are same according to the mind training point of view, Mahamudra. So, so their kind of namto, the conceptual thought, Lord Jesus said, next word is called the tinpa. Conceptual thought is like a cloud in space. There's a different types of clouds. Boundless cloud there. So many clouds comes, goes in space. Right? There is sometimes there is no clouds possible. There is also sometimes there is no thoughts that is possible. But inner meditation, Mahamudra point of view, actually there's no possible. Namtox is always there. Conceptual thought is always there. Conceptual thoughts also has a lots of the grossal, the subtle one. Sometimes we do not see the subtle ones. That does not mean subtle is there. Sometimes we dispelling all the grosser thoughts, namto, conceptual, so many, like namto is also good, bad, like, dislike. This is conceptual thoughts. That's all the nature of the mind, actually. Namto getting so. So that Lord Jesus was saying is, if we beginning practice time, we have to recognize those thoughts, every thoughts, recognize, realizing, understanding it, if we do not recognizing the reality, true nature of the thought, all the conceptual thoughts, the namto. So Lord Jesus says, there's no way to understanding of the space. The mind, real mind. There's no way to understanding the reality, nature of the mind. So therefore, when we practice time, when we, as a practice meditators, as a practitioners, purpose is about we are not practicing about the space, actually. Actually, we are practicing about the cloud to dispel, recognizing, understanding their nature of the cloud, how cloud come, how it disappearing. Likewise, our emotions, the numb thoughts, all the conceptual thoughts, how it rising, how it disappearing, these things. That is always happen in our reality, everyday life. Whether we are sleeping time, that's happening. But that does not mean we do not have in their dreams, because we are deep sleep, so we cannot recognize it. It's happening for continue 24 hours. It's happening. It's happening for not just me. It's happening for everyone. It's not happening for only the Buddha. It's happening for every level of every living beings, every human beings. It's happening for not just ordinary people. It's happening for those people who are called themselves Mahamudra realization, him or herself. Yeah, it's happening to them too. So therefore, Lord Jidin Sunggu says, now the focus where? Focus not the space. Focus and understanding of the nature of the cloud. How the cloud goes, comes, goes, comes. So Lord Jidin Sunggu next word says, Namdo ge tinso mating na chinyi je zakar mitaves. If we do not see the reality nature of the cloud, then once we understanding reality nature of the cloud, realizing that the cloud of all the conceptual thought, then cloud disappears, dissolves itself. Where it dissolves? It dissolves in space. It dissolves nowhere. Cloud dissolves back to the space. Cloud rises from the space. Due to the different cause and the conditions, rises from the space. Cloud dissolves back to the space. Rises from the Mother Earth, whatever we call it, dissolve back to the Mother Earth. So, and Lord Jidin Sunggu said, if we see things very clear, we were talking about insight meditation now, right? Inside meditation, we see things cloud very clear, conceptual thoughts, how rising, how disappearing, rising very clear. So when the cloud disappears, then what do we see? We see very clear about the sun, stars, moon. Their light, qualities there to see things cloud. Likewise, when the cloud disappearing, then we see the sun or the stars and the sun, moons, and so forth. Likewise, what happened in our insight? Insight, when we realizing their true nature, their all the conceptual nature, realizing it, then it realizing ourselves become a realizing about the relative truth, the ultimate truth, understanding of relative truth. What is relative truth? What is ultimate truth? Relative truth is what? The cloud is there, it rising, it disappearing, it's working back and forth, coming back and forth. Our thoughts and the rising, coming back, disappearing, comes, goes, comes, goes. That's all relative. We cannot deny that it's happening. No one can stop that. That's why the meditator, in a meditation point of view, they say it's always try not stop it. Try to not stop the thought. Recognizing, realizing, understanding the thoughts. Therefore, it is called sometimes what we call a thought. It doesn't matter. Thoughts doesn't make us anything good and bad. Whatever thoughts, whatever conceptual thought, whether it is positive, whether it is negative. What is the matters us? What is the challenge for us? And according to the let's see, Mahamudra point of view. Okay, let's put it this way. At the Mahamudra point of view, then challenge part is what? When the thought rises within in our mind and heart, all the thought rises, then we chasing after thoughts. That's the number one. Then it's a big problem, right after chasing. The second thing is, then then we try to, after that, then we try to judge about it. After the thoughts, whether good, bad, we judge it. Then not just to judge it. Then the third one is we hold it. Strongly believe this is the right, this is I believe. It's a hold and strongly just craving, So therefore, the Mahamudra point of view, it is this chasing after thought, judging the thought, craving the holdings, thoughts, then it is we are becoming kind of binded. So binded through emotion. So kind of strong. We are not liberated. We are not really free. So therefore, Mahamudra point of view, the meditation is try to not chasing after thought, try to not judging about thought, try to not hold about it, just it is, just let go, just emotions, just relax as possible. So that is the one part of the Mahamudra point of view. Then there is, of course, many of you heard about the Dzogchen Chenpo's style. There is a couple, actually the essence is the same, not so much different. For me, my understanding. And sometimes they have different ideas. It says, oh, it's very different, such and such. Whatever, for my understanding, then the Dzogchen's point of view, the Rigpa, the awareness point of view is then whatever thought rises and without any this and that, just look at self. Look at self, remain there. Look at self, remain there deep enough, then it is naturally dissolved. Dissolve is the same thing. I think so. That is for my second today's talk about how to dealing with our every thoughts, Thought is whether we are meditator or non-meditators. See, conception is always there. Maybe sometimes the meditator has more thought than other ordinary people, more conceptualized, especially for great, how to say, scholar, great philosophers. They may have more. They have much more than anybody else. So sometimes it says in practice teaching, sometimes quite a challenge for them to be relaxed and rest mind into nature, because they're already trained their mind. It's so logic and a philosophy too. I've been, my mind is like that too, actually. I'm getting better, actually, how to be stopped. So that's, I thought, it's because of the inner meditation point of view, how to learning about our own thoughts doesn't trapped into that, anything, so good and bad, just everything has to let go. And this practice is, I say, it's a mind training, inner mind training, whatever call it, or whatever you call a Mahamudra or Zopa Chambo, whatever call it, or all mindfulness meditation. It is very important in the reality life, everyday life. I think so. So one thing in the Mahamudra, it says, do not creating more thoughts. Do not making more thoughts, So just looking after that. So therefore the Milarepa, I think so, I remember Milarepa says, look at your own mind, relax. Just look at the. So that is, I found it very interesting. Of course, all teachings are wonderful. These are we really, really needed for in our everyday life, in order to be kind of, how to say, whatever call it, enjoy life or the peaceful life, self and others. So therefore, we try to all the purpose of meditation, all the teaching, So therefore, in a, of course, in a sutra or in the Uttara teaching, it's also said the same thing actually. Simji Ranyin Vesawa Timanamne Lulwa. All the clouds, all the thoughts are temporary. Temporary means impermanence. Impermanence means doesn't last long. It moves on and on. Keep changing it, reality, nature. So that is very important. Because of the temporary impermanence, so therefore we can see to realizing our true reality, nature of the mind. It's like a space. Space always is there. It is never distracted by any cloud, anything. Also, therefore, those are the, as we know, that's the essence of the mind training, or whatever we call, whether we call the mind training, whether we call the Tonglen practices, whether we call the Mahamudra, or we call the Dzogchen. I think that is the really, really, myself also, every day has been practicing. It's very, very useful. You have to be, no choice. Otherwise, quite pretty challenging dealing with in reality life. So many things there. So Okay, so that's I'm going to my speak. I have to break trick here and then take your own anybody's other thoughts about early discussions, your comments. Yes, please.
It seems to me that for any being, even like a regular being or a bodhisattva, the thoughts are going to arise, but they can watch them arise and disappear. But for a Buddha, it would seem there wouldn't even need to be thought because they're omniscient and just aware of everything. That's what it seems. Does that sound right?
Yes, there is a, of course, you study about the dual animal liberation, right? The end, there is a certain questions there. Buddha has thought or not. So then the finalizing is nobody could under really give a good answer for that. And you saw your own understanding, of course, that'd be possible, you know. And then the taking note or quotation from the Milarepa's songs in the answer was for my limited understanding, Jolan and Liberation, long time. It says, Milarepa says, it's whether Buddha has a thought after enlightenment or not. Milarepa says, look at your own mind and you see it. Is that possible? Not. I think I like that question. The answer was, I don't know. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Sometimes it's that way, isn't it? Meditation, no thoughts. It's possible.
It
Sometimes,
seems to me
yes.
you can meditate, and it's like usually in a normal day-to-day basis, I feel kind of contracted, right? Everything's like right here. But sometimes when I meditate, it's more like open. It seems like the horizons expand. It could go on and on and on and never end, you know. And that seems nice.
Mhm.
You can please go ahead. There you go.
Please, you.
I'd just like to make the point that what you're describing, what we're taught to be looking for, is the nature of mind. You know, my Lama showed me the nature of my mind. And the nature of that mind is all that conceptual thought. And it's all that conceptual thought that's keeping you from the nature of your essence. In other words, to be human is to have this mind, to have this conceptual thought. And to be a complete human, to be a realized human being, is to be able to recognize and transcend that, to be able to recognize that Buddha nature within ourselves that is free of the bonds of what that nature of mind is. So the nature of mind is what holds us down to remain as an ordinary human being. When we can recognize that, and as Lama said, by looking at it square in the eye and saying, oh, now I know what you are, you're just binding me up, it just evaporates, it just goes away. And then what we're trying to apprehend is that space. The space permeates us all, penetrates everything, but we don't recognize it because of all the conceptuality. But as we begin to let things go, we begin to apprehend, we begin to recognize, we begin to experience that freedom, that space. So that's my point.
So we were discussing what does it mean to be a Buddha? What does it mean to be enlightened? And I was thinking if I'm walking into my living room and my kids are watching a movie and it's about an hour in and I see a scene and I think, oh, this is scary or this is dramatic. But I'm not really bothered by it because I know it's just a movie. It's not, I would imagine that would be how a Buddha would see anything, that they would not be
Yes,
worried about it because
I think that's a good analogy.
yeah. But the other thing that Lama said that really stuck with me was your thoughts come. Don't try to fight them, just let them come. but then that progression when you have a negative thought, and for me, it's a business problem. So the thought comes into my head and I fight it, but then I accept the thought, and then it goes, well, you've got this problem. You're not going to be able to solve it. You don't know how to solve it. And now this bad thing is going to happen because of this business.
Well, what do you think about the point that you've got this business problem
Mhm.
and it's your job to solve the problem,
Right.
isn't it?
Or even I get to solve the problem. I get to be relied on.
And so
Yeah.
from my experience, when you least expect it, when you are relaxed, all of a sudden the answer to that problem presents itself.
I agree.
Have you had that kind of experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we're trying to force it, all we're seeing is the antagonism of the anxiety of it. But when we're relaxed, we see the undoing of it. It's part of the conceptualization. That for every negative conceptualization, there's a positive, and they just kind of neutralize each other.
That makes sense. Thank you.
We're not negating it. We're accepting it and let it unfold itself.
And then eventually it'll move just like the clouds.
It's just moving through. You say, "Oh, I'm not stuck on that problem anymore."
Right. Like you think of a problem from 15 years ago. Is it still bothering you? Probably not.
Does anybody online have a comment you'd like to make?
Oh, yeah.
You just turn on your microphone and begin to speak if you like. Well, I guess not.
Well, since no one else wants to speak,
Mm.
I've been hearing for years about the practice of gratitude, mostly from people who aren't Buddhist, and something a lot of people talk about is a gratitude journal. The first thing in the morning, you should write down 5 things that you feel grateful for. And I don't know, it seems a little bit artificial to me, but I can see that it could be a useful practice. So what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I heard that too. People, I think some cases, some people can be very, very helpful that way. To they know how to write down, and the writing down makes a very difference than anything, as we all know, study, and just thinking and now writing down, and then it's different, right? When you write down, then you know what the notes are very, very clear, right? It's a lot. It makes a much more, how to say, stays with us.
It's developing a mindfulness.
Yeah, it stays with us, right? When you take a note, things like that, I remember when I was finishing my bachelor and the master, I take a lot of notes. I was very good with not taking notes, My some classmate always asking my notes. Sometimes I give it to them. So I think in some cases it's really useful, but actually it's not about only the writing there, right? It's all about to bring into the mind and heart to, how to say, remember it, continue, again and again,
Isn't it insight? Developing insight. It's an insight
Right.
meditation.
Yeah.
It's a contemplation. And you begin to recognize, eventually begin to recognize the non-talk,
Mhm.
that it's all mind,
I think it's one skillful method. People can writing down a few things every day, whatever precious them, and training, I think also of course, we all heard about many used to be the great master. Kadam was a tradition. Atisha is a tradition. They used to, I don't know the writing part, they used to do kind of different,
The white
write
stone,
stone
black
and
pepper,
under the stone. Yeah,
for a good deed or a
right.
bad deed,
Yeah,
a
it's
bad
like that.
thought that came up
Right.
in the mind, so.
So that could be kind of different forms of, I mean, some,
Well,
it's a
somebody
good,
should make an app for that. For
Yeah.
your telephone.
Yeah.
The white stone and black stone.
I think a fundamental question that we should ask ourselves at the beginning of what you said, your talk here, was what is the practice? What are we practicing? It's like, a musician, he practices his instrument. A singer practices their vocal cords, how they use them. A doctor practices technique and healing techniques, and they're practicing all the time. What are we practicing for? What are all these different practices designed to do? That we can transform ourselves into becoming a perfect human being or a realized perfect human being. And the example we use is Buddha Shakyamuni and all the other great masters who have come, who've written all these great practices, are devices for us to be able to focus in on what that ideal, what it is that we're trying to reach for. It's a practice to do it. So we have to practice that we are that. We have to say, "Oh, I am that." But then when something happens to knock us off of that balance, we say, "Oh, I made a mistake there," and it robbed me of my perfection of that practice for that time. Recognizing that allows you to heal it, fix it, and you don't have to do it. You don't necessarily have to do it again. But if you do, you recognize it all the quicker and so on. So it's a practice for perfection. And what Lama Gursam was talking about was, the training of the mind, the 3 mind trainings, which are the 6 paramitas, the 6 perfections. And, so we have these guides to help us to do it and so on. But the practice is to become that realized, perfected human being, that complete human being. That's all we are, human beings. Being a Buddha is a realized human being. It's not something out there. It's something within ourselves. And as soon as we can get over that idea that it's external, that's one of the things that we conceptualize, that it's out there, that it's something else other than myself.
When I was younger, I used to get depressed and see what was wrong with everything and think about it and assign blame and stuff, that society and all this stuff, I was miserable. And then after I learned to practice Dharma, I started seeing the good things and be appreciative for them and grateful. And then it's like I'm in a good mood all the time. It's like the same life, but looking at it a different way.
Well, there's a joy in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bodhicitta joy.
But when you were saying about practice, what are we practicing for?
Yeah.
While the goal is Buddhahood.
And what is that?
Aren't we really practicing, like he was saying, about like to get up to the next step? Mm-hmm. Meaning, like, we're not going to go from what I'm thinking about to, oh, I'm going to be a Buddha. More like we're practicing, so we get a little bit closer.
The thing that I always like is in the Dzogchen.
So we understand something else.
In the Dzogchen, they talk about the ground, the path, and the fruition. And the ground is where you are, where you start, and so on like that. You say, "Oh, I want to get to this destination. I want to get to this Buddhahood," and so on. And then you get on the path and you go through all these changes. You're learning all this intellectualization, you're learning to control your mind, all that conceptualization and so on. And then you finally get to that fruition and you find out that you were there the whole time because you were there at the ground. It was present at the ground. It's present on the path and it's present in the fruition. So that's the goal, is to realize you're there now. You just won't accept it. You won't realize.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking in terms of like this.
That's the
Picture.
process. That's the
That's
process to get there. That's the shamatha meditation.
Sure.
That's the process to
it's
get
kinda
there.
like, yeah,
9 stages
That's
of
harnessing the mind.
yeah. But if you can get one step beyond.
Well, it is a graduated
Yeah, I
path.
feel,
You know, it's a graduated path.
Yeah.
But you know, there can be a moment of spontaneity, of spontaneous realization.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not stable. You know, it comes and it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like most of us understand that 30 years ago, we didn't have the comprehension of the concepts we've been talking about today. But like, look how far we've come that we can actually discuss some of this stuff with, I'll say, like a better perspective
I think you're right.
or understanding of like, oh, that's right, I did get past that.
And now we're able to see all the interconnections, you know. And that brings up the point of spirituality. You know, what does spirit mean? Spirit means connection, seeing all the spiritual being sees all. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian, doesn't matter whether you're a Jew or whatever, you know, but you can see that connection of all beings, whether they're human beings, animal beings, insect beings, sentient beings, etc. in this world. Sure.
When the concept of all thoughts are not permanent, when that was mentioned, I find that really reassuring because it's like the bad thoughts and the good thoughts are all impermanent, but they're always going to be a different one. Would you say that applies to other aspects of life besides thoughts, like everything?
Life is impermanent. That's one of the 4 thoughts that turns the mind to the Dharma. How do we deal with that instability or with that impermanence? Because we want to be permanent. The ego wants that. So that's a huge step. That's one of the preliminary practices. We call that the common preliminary practice. We have to deal with impermanence. So there's an intellectualization of that process to do that. Does that make sense?
Aspect of samsara.
Yeah.
all compounded phenomena are impermanent.
So in the prayer book that we have, that red prayer book, it's got in there the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma. And so after we do our opening prayers, then we do the 4 thoughts to, you know, get our motivation right, get our mind straight. And then we go to the next part, which is the stages of meditation with the loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. So it's that guided path. And at some point we start having those epiphanies. Aha. Well, I think it's after 5 o'clock, so we
Right.
should take a dinner break
Right.
and come back. We're going to come back at 7 o'clock. So we wanted to have this time to really to flesh this out, you know, to have an intellectual investigation and a sharing and the discussion of this to help each other and so on, to see it from everybody's point of view is very, very healthy, very, very helpful and so on. Plus, we have the guidance of the Dharma and we have the master with us to help to navigate that.
Thank you.
O Chanju Semjo Rinpoche Mache Panam Cheche Jeba Nyamba Meba Yang
Gone Gondu Power Show. That's the Buddy Cheetah aspiration.
Oh, thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Back. Dinner.
Since it's 3 days, would you like a rosary?
Sure, thanks.
Those are the
Yeah.
ones you got me, yes.
Yeah, it's a wonderful. You have to really, you offering
Yeah,
it.
A long one. Yeah.
yeah.
Pull 'em all around.
Thank you.
I mean, okay.
Red Chandan.
I have one.
I saw you had one.
Yeah. Red Chandan.
You are on there.
Mhm.
Our prayer is at the bottom of page 28. All right, well, thank you, guys. I guess they're all gone. Okay. They all disappeared.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just because you have.
they went into space.
Who was that
What?
online?
Well, we had one fellow was from Manchester, England. Another one was from Russia.
Oh, really?
And there was a couple other guys. I don't know where they were from.
Whatever, 17.
Thank you all for coming. See you shortly.